Today, let's talk about two things that are going to help you get to the gym. The first is the 2-minute rule. The second is maybe something to think about failure. Have you ever heard me say, if I can do this, anybody can do this? Why do people say that so often? The reason people say that so often is a difference between how much energy it takes to do something and how much energy we think it takes to do something. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Let's talk about the difference between perceived energy that it takes to complete a task and actual energy that it takes to complete a task. I got bad news for you. You're terrible at guessing.
You suck at this.
We usually anticipate that it's going to take a whole bunch of time and energy and effort and discomfort to complete something, but in actuality, it's not as bad as we think. The 2-minute rule can help us make up for that gap. Oftentimes, once we're actually completing an activity and we're in the midst of doing something, it's not as bad as we thought. So what I want you to do is commit to just doing something for 2 minutes. If you do it for 2 minutes and it's terrible and you want to quit, that's fine. You stop. You can come back to it another time. But oftentimes, once we get started, it's not that bad. And to keep going, it's easier than we anticipated. So the 2-minute rule helps us get started. An example of this is, let's say you don't want to go on a run, but you could probably put your shoes on and just walk to the mailbox. Once you get to the mailbox, then you can decide that you want to quit. That's fine. But at least just getting started. Decrease this perceived startup cost and how difficult it's going to be to actually complete something. One of the other things that can be extremely helpful is reframing the times where you don't do well. Patients that I have who are extremely successful, it's not that they've only been successful every time that they've tried to exercise, but they stopped looking at it like a failure when they didn't do well. Success is not linear. You're going to have great days and you're going to have terrible days. People that I have who are in great shape and take really good care of themselves have off days too. But they don't look at it as a failure on a day that they didn't go to the gym. And especially when you're just getting started, take that out of your vocabulary. Start thinking about days where you didn't go to the gym as a day that you learned something. Maybe you learned that when your friend bails that you don't like going to the gym because you don't like going by yourself and you need an accountability partner. Or maybe you didn't go because you know the gym is going to be very crowded and you feel intimidated when there's a lot of people around. Either one of those things is going to teach you about how you can be more successful the next time that you want to go. And the more you learn over time, the more successful you're going to become. They say the difference between a student and a master is that the master has failed more times than the student has tried. So keep trying. You're just learning. You're not failing. Take that out of your vocabulary. That's oftentimes when people get to a point and they say, man, if I can do this, anybody can do this. It's because once they decrease that perceived startup cost and they just started doing it, they realized it wasn't as hard as what they originally thought. And the times that they did fail, they just kept working at it. And they weren't successful at their first time, but there's nothing different about that person than there is about you. David Goggins doesn't have anything special about his body than the one that he was born with. The way that he was made is not different than the way that you were made. He's just curious about trying to see how he can push himself, and he wants to know, he wants to learn. If he can't do something, why? When did he fail? Did his body quit? Did his mind quit? And David Goggins is so interested in learning about when his mind is going to quit that he keeps pushing himself to do amazing things. And you can do that too. It's not anything special about David Goggins. Every one of you can be a person who says, if I can do it, you can do it.